Hello, today we're going to take a look at the real geometry of the swing. Right now you can see that the golfer is set up in a very athletic posture position, but as he starts to move the club away and the takeaway, you can see how the product that surrounds him is just really going to show us the path that the hands need to move on, the path that the body needs to move on, and how things match up. So as he continues to move into the backswing, you can see with the yellow line how it's really created this cube inside of three-dimensional space. And when you really start paying attention to these matchups, your mind is just like, wow, that's pretty amazing, because now we're able for the first time to see the real geometry that surrounds the body. And as you can see, the chest is fully matched up to the R1 pipe, which is down on the bottom of your left side of the viewing area. But the shaft is matched up to the line up top and the pipe down at the bottom. As he continues to move into the backswing, you can see how the shaft is now matched up to the yellow line. The chest is matched up. The bottom line on the left-hand part of the product, which is R1, is everything just matches up. And when you start understanding how easy it is to make the club move and make your body move on these straight lines, it becomes really easy to start making a golf swing. And I mean like a world-class golf swing, because now you understand in such a visual way that allows you to make a motion that is going to be extremely beneficial for your golf game. Now, as you can see right now, the shaft is matched up to the the R2 and the R3 pipes, and everything gives us this vertical kind of look where the shaft is now vertical, but the right angle between the left form and the shaft is there. Everything's just really, really perfect position. But these positions now make sense, because now we can see the geometry that surrounds the body. So as he continues to go to the top of the backswing, he's starting to load his hands, set the club, and you can see the shaft is now matched up to the R3 and the L1 position, which is down in the right-hand corner. So instead of having to sit there and think about, well, my gosh, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and am I turned behind the ball, all these different things, you don't have to worry about that anymore, because the human mind is truly capable of seeing patterns quicker than any other aspect of how our mind works. And the reason for that gets back into survival for eons or decades and eons of time, because we had to survive to get to this point that we're today. So our mind allows us to see a pattern. And once you understand what the pattern is that surrounds you in three-dimensional space, then you're able to start processing that information and allowing yourself to make a motion instead of getting caught up in positions. Now, these positions are world class, but they match up to the geometry, and that move right there is the absolute move that every single amateur in the world misses. As you can see, the shaft is working down at an angle behind him, which is, again, that is the difference between a tour player and an amateur. The matchups are clearly present. He's still loaded in his body. The shaft is working down at an angle. Then what you'll see as he starts to come down, it's not a pull action. It's just following the geometry in three-dimensional space. Now, at this point, he's starting to go into a full release, and that is because that shaft moved down backwards. So now it's going to start moving down and give this vertical approach where things are moving up and down vertically, as you can see with all the arrows on the screen. So the body's still inside the cubic structure of the product, and now he's just going to keep releasing from this point all the way into the finished position. But when you understand how simple it is for the mind to be able to see these different, angle changes that need to be present, it just absolutely is just one of the most amazing things you can experience. Right here, as far as like technicality goes, you can see the 90-degree angle relationship between the left arm, the shaft, but you can also see how the shaft is matched up to the R1 at the bottom. It's also matched up with the yellow line going from the upper right, the upper left-hand part of the screen to the center. It's just all perfectly matched up. So instead of me saying, hey, you got to get into this position and you've got to do this, it's real easy for a golfer to just be in the product, start making swings and just following the path. As soon as you start following the path, the brain starts recognizing the pattern. Then things become a lot more easy for you to understand instead of getting caught up and positions golf. Did I get here the correct way? Did I get the correct way? There's so many things that we can think about, but you got to remember the golf swing is only 1.2 seconds of motion. So if there's this pattern that we're able to see that surrounds us in three-dimensional space, is what frees up the mind to start making these moves accordingly, so that we can start to have the best golf swing that we can have and start enjoying and playing the game at a higher level. Well, what you can see right here is how that shaft is now matched up. The wrists are starting to get into a good position to where everything is creating this launch angle that's now going to start moving through the ball and up. And the cool part is that impact, I mean, it just does not get any better than that, because again, the chest is matched up, which is more open. He's not trying to lift the ball. The club head is just moving on this path that has been created around him in three-dimensional space. But the chest is matched up with the L1 line, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of the product. And you can see how he's hitting into a firm left side. I mean, we could talk about all these different golf terms, but really what makes it simple is now there's a true path that we can follow with the hands, the club head, the body, and the checkpoints that we want to use. Instead of me saying, hey, get into this position, it's real easy for you to start understanding. See how the shaft is not only matched up in the upper right-hand corner, it's also matched up with the pipe on the left-hand side, which is R1. So the shaft is matched up into L3. The chest is opened up into the bottom right-hand pipe, and the matchups are just absolutely superb to be able to see it and fully understand it. Now, as he goes into extension, into the follow-through, the club's going to go up. But you guessed it, everything matches up again. The chest is nice at a really good angle. Everything matches up to the pipe in the lower right-hand corner. The extension of the arm is now going horizontal, but you can see from the line going up right next to his left leg, if it kept going up and then took, it's a perfect 90-degree angle in three-dimensional space. So as he continues to move up into the extension, which these are just absolute angles that are just hard for people to understand, but this is such a visual way for us to be able to see how the 90-degree angles are being maintained. But these are not just guessed. Where did these come from? These came from the geometric path and shape that surrounds the human body, which until now has not been able to be seen before, because it's the geometry and the points on the geometry that will allow that club head to move in a circle around the body. Now, as you can see here, everything's matched up. The red lines not only match up to the line on the bottom, which is R1, but it's on the left-hand side of the screen, and then on L3, which is on the upper right section of the screen within the viewing area as far as the product's concerned. So the extension's good, the path is good, things match up. Everything's about matchups and offsetting forces and all these different things. But when we start to really understand, it is truly just as simple as allowing you to see the real geometry that surrounds us in three-dimensional space. Then you're able to see the cubicity of how this thing works. Now, the funny part is, when we made this video, we started researching stuff like, is there such a word as cubic motion? And there's nothing that we can find within the definition of the dictionary, which is actually quite funny. But what we're really learning to do is to move cubically throughout a three-dimensional cube, if you will, teaches us how to make these matchups occur without thought. And that in itself is one of the most revolutionary things, in our opinion, as far as the golf swing goes, because it's a lot easier to say, if you just follow this path, then here is the outcome that you can have. And a lot of people are going to say, well, what about flexibility? What about this? Well, the truth is that maybe you don't have the amount of flexibility that you need, but if you can just start following this path, these are the results that you're going to get, because it doesn't have to do with flexibility. It has to do where you're limited in flexibility is with when you're trying to manipulate different things to create what your mind perceives to be the right path. Now, the mind has a very hard time seeing a circle, which is proven because the golf swings of the day and the handicap of the entire world hasn't really gotten better in the past 50 years, even though there's all this new technology with the golf balls, with the equipment and everything. But the truth is, when you can start to understand how this equipment needs to be wielded through a swinging type of motion, then you're able to start understanding you can actually make a really good golf swing. And I mean a really good world-class golf swing, because now you know the path that has to be created. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to switch this over, and we're going to be able to see a two swing comparison, one in the product and one out. So let's take a look. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this from the down the line perspective. And it's really cool what can happen here, because when you look at the matchups of how everything works, what we're going to see is how there's a relationship between the spine angle and your posture and where your grip has to go. So this is easily displayed on the image on the left. But as we start to understand these things, we don't have to talk about, like, there's a lot of golf instruction out there. Everybody's talking about ulnar deviation, this rotation, flexion, extension. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, where these are good words and these are actually things that are really happening in the body. We're able to eliminate all that confusion because, again, it gets into the matchups. So as we can see right here, the shaft is matched up to the L1 position, which is that bar that is in the front on the left hand side, and then the spine angle you can see is being maintained because of the thing that has the support bar right there for polygon golf. And then this is just nothing but matchups. And the coolest part about all this stuff is when I don't have to think, well, is my posture here? Am I at this angle? Am I at that angle? What about if I set my wrist and do all these things? I mean, clearly evident. You can see if you just move the club correctly in three-dimensional space within the path that is now visible to us because of the way that the product sits in three-dimensional space, it allows you to just really start painting by numbers. You can trace these lines with your hands, and you're going to start understanding that it's really quite easy to have a world-class golf swing. And everybody out there, we just want to play better. We want to hit the ball better, especially amateurs. It's just that the movement is now going to be very condensed. It's not going to be swaying or this or that, but you can see right here how the matchups are just absolutely present in the three-dimensional space. So for the first time ever, we truly have a blueprint that is going to allow the masses to be able to have these type of motions that we're just in awe about with the guys that play professionally for a living. So as we can see here, the spine angle is still being maintained at this point. He hasn't risen up. It's just basically following the geometry in three-dimensional space. And when you start understanding that, my gosh, it can really be this simple to own a world-class golf swing, the light bulbs start going off everywhere, and the excitement level is just through the roof, because now there truly is a pattern. And the pattern, like I said, the mind is very good at seeing patterns. It's not very good at logic. It's not very good at remembering things. I mean, it's just the way that it goes. But pattern recognition is extremely important, not only to the way that we see the world, but also really for a survival instinct. And I mean, a good story for that would be like two people could see a situation, and then I could look up and I hear something in the bushes, and I'm like, my gosh, what is that? So I walk over there and thinking it's the wind, and it could be a bear, and all of a sudden the bear can just attack me. Or I could look at the same situation, hear something, visually see it, and walk over there, think it's a bear. It could be the wind blowing. And pattern recognition is what allows us to decipher things in split seconds to be able to make good decisions for our survival. So now that we can see this pattern around us in three-dimensional space, it gives our brain a path to follow with the club head, with the shaft, with the hands, with the body. And as you can see, it's just so dynamically well put together that really for the first time ever, we're truly understanding how the geometry of the swing is really what makes the swing. And as you can see here again, the matchup, he's already started the downswing. That move right there is what most amateurs do not do. It's the transition. They do not allow everything to move back and down at an angle. 9 times out of 10, they'll come over the top, they'll cut across it, they'll do all these things. They don't, over the plane, under the plane. I mean, we can go into so many different technical words that people have come up with to be able to make things work. But as you start moving the body, the spine angle still being maintained, the path of the club is now coming down at an angle behind us into the slot, which is what he's in right now, is what everybody's termed it. And you're able to start attacking the golf ball from the inside instead of from over the top, allowing you to be able to maximize the consistency, to be able to have a repeatable motion. But not just a repeatable motion, we're talking about a repeatable motion that is so geometrically put together that it gives us this wonderful way to start attacking the golf ball and hit really good shot. So again, you can see right now that the shaft is matched up. It's kind of splitting the forearm, but where it's really matched up to is the R1 pipe, which is closest to us at the bottom, which you can see they're matched up. Again, we'll leave the terminology for the different parts of the product, R1, R2, R3, L1, all these things at the end so that you can have a better understanding of seeing it. But now as he's coming into impact, where a lot of people would be doing here, you could be talking about middle core, upper core, mid core. Well, there's different things, and those things, in my opinion, can be helpful, but you have to understand which one you are. But as you can see, he's still in his spine angle, and a lot of people are like, well, they stand up, they do this, their release patterns are different, and there's a lot of that holds validity. But when you start understanding, hey, I don't really have to worry about all this stuff. All I need to do is start moving this club head in my hands on this pattern that now surrounds us, and it just gives us the best opportunity to make a world-class swing. Because again, if the biggest thing that everybody, our students that we've worked with in the past, they're just like, I want to be more consistent, I want to be able to make a repeatable motion. Well, again, the way the mind works, we have to reprocess all this information over and over and try to make it become a routine. Well, the quickest way to establish a routine and gain these matchups is to be able to have a pattern that we can follow, or a path that we can follow. And right here, you can see how the geometry that surrounds the body, which until now has not been visible, we're able to start understanding things at such a higher level of understanding, which now gives us the ability to start making a great swing. And it's kind of like this. When I was younger, my parents taught me how to tie my shoe. So it was, loop this, loop that, pull it out through here, boom. Well, it was a pattern. And when I recognized that pattern, I was able to tie my shoe. I don't even think about it anymore. I don't think anybody does once they learn how to do it. And that is really the same simplicity from being able to use the product and the matchups that are in there. Your brain will start seeing the matchups that need to happen. You start moving your body in a way, which is really the club, because when the club starts moving in this path, your body starts responding, or your body's moving in this path, then the club starts responding. But actually knowing where everything has to be in such a simple way, from being able to visually see it as I come and go into the follow through, is really what makes a big difference. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the golf swing side-by-side comparison from the down the line view. On behalf of all of us here at Polygon Golf, we'd like to thank you for watching the video, and we look forward to seeing you soon.